Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We're fishing the Savannah River drainage again. We're trying to get Alex the Bartrams bass, and this is one reason why Bartrams bass are so rare now. And this is a Bartrams Alabama hybrid. You can tell, you can see the markings there on the caudal fin, the margins of the caudal fin here. There's some faint coloration there on the fin tips, and but superficially it looks like an Alabama bass, and most anglers would probably just call this a spotted bass, but this is why it's never a good idea to move fish or introduce non-native species. Again, this is the Savannah River drainage. Alabama bass are native to the Mobile Basin, which is 2 states away. This is the upper Savannah River drainage. Last time we fished the middle Savannah down around Augusta, which is right at the fall line, so we're a long ways from there. And we're trying to get Alex and John over there a Bartrams bass for the Georgia Bass Slam. That's the reason, or the goal for the trip today. John's got one right now. Looks like a pretty good one. Probably an Alabama bass or a hybrid, the way it's cutting up. And technically this is Lake Hartwell. We're fishing the headwaters, or the upper end of Lake Hartwell. This is about as far as you can go. Around that corner is Lake Yonah Dam. And we are fishing during a release. If you fish here, you probably can tell that they're letting water out of Lake Yonah. And we're just fishing these current seams right now. We're not going to try and get out there and fight the current. We're just going to work these current seams, and as the water drops, we'll get out there on the main river or some and try and fish the main channel. But for now, during this release, we're just fishing these current seams. I'm fishing the one right here by the launch, and John and Alex, they're working the one down on the downstream side of this island. Actually, I don't see Alex. I don't know what Alex is doing right now, but John, he just caught a pretty nice fish. It's probably an Alabama bass just because of its size, or a hybrid. There's no way. Bartram's bass max out around 14 inches, and that fish looked like it was 16 inches from here. This appears to be a Bartram's bass, but because of where we are, this could be a hybrid. I just don't know. But I'm going to paddle to the bank over here, and where we can get a better look at this fish. And I'll talk more about where we are in just a second. I've got us over here where we can take a better look at this fish. Is that a Bartram's bass? It could be. Again, because of where we are, and this is the upper end of Lake Hartwell, you have so many non-native Alabama bass that this very well could be a hybrid. It's just hard to say without genetics, but that's a nice fish. Put him in the water here, we'll get a better look at him. But we'll let this fish go and try to get another one. I don't really recommend this as a destination for specifically for the Bartrams bass, just because there are so many hybrids. Alabama bass were introduced to Lake Hartwell probably during the early 90s, late 80s. And even though we are on the this is the upper end of Lake Hartwell, there has been widespread hybridization with the native Bartrams bass, and they've pretty much been wiped out. You still have some fish in this area on the upper end of the lake that superficially resemble Bartrams bass, and some of the fish may be Bartrams bass. We've got a creek right here with a big waterfall, Panther Creek. So you may have some pure fish coming out of there. But most of the fish are going to be hybrids. Lake Hartwell is a huge lake, and it took, you know, during the early 90s, you could still, and throughout the 90s, you could still catch Bartrams bass around the main body of the lake. But I'd say in the last 20 years, they've become increasingly rare. And they've been pretty much eliminated from the main lake. You still find pure Bartrams bass up some of the tributaries where you have like some kind of impassable barrier, like a waterfall, a big drop, or maybe a low head dam, a mill dam of some type. Here's a bite. That's going to be an Alabama bass, I bet. Or maybe not. Nope, that's a hybrid. That looks like some kind of hybrid. He's been caught before. You can see that's clearly a hybrid. And I know that because you can see these spots right here in the anal fin. You don't typically see that in the Alabama bass. That's something, and that coloration in the anal fin is something it's a trait unique to Bartrams bass. So I know this is a hybrid. You could also see these the mid-lateral blotches here. They're kind of broken up. They're not continuous like you see on the Alabama bass. So we're gonna release this fish. I don't normally release the hybrids, but again, this is the upper end of Lake Hartwell, and it's a huge, massive impoundment. And it's just full of those hybrids, unfortunately. That's why it's never a good idea to move fish around, especially non-native species of black bass. They've pretty much wiped out the Bartrams bass in the main lake, at least. Again, the only reason I'm here really is because this area is convenient for my friend Alex and John up there. They live in this area. We're not too far from here, so we're going to try and get a Bartrams bass so they can complete their Georgia Bass Slam. Now that looks more like a Bartrams. Okay. He's clearly had a run-in with something much bigger than he is. But that does look like a real Bartrams bass. I'm seeing lots of coloration here in the soft dorsal, almost red salmon color in the margins of the caudal fin there. Just a beautiful fish. Other than this sore right there. That could be from an osprey or an eagle. It could be from a heron. That could even be from a big flathead catfish, or maybe even a striped bass. I don't know. There's a lot of things that could eat a small Bartrams bass. Maybe even a turtle, you know, a big snapping turtle. But we'll put this guy back in the water. It's a beautiful fish. See ya. Again, here in the Savannah River drainage, you only have two native species of black bass, the largemouth bass and the Bartrams bass. Those are the only two native species. The Alabama bass, which most anglers still call spotted bass, it is non-native. Alabama bass are native only to the Mobile Basin. So that's one reason the Bartrams bass are so rare in the Savannah River impoundments now. At one time, they were pretty common. I've fished the Savannah River impoundments since for about 30 years, and 30 years ago they were just about everywhere, and now they're a pretty rare catch, especially a real one, a real legit Bartrams from the main lake. You just don't see those very often. And that's because the non-native Alabama bass have wiped them out. Wow. Check out that fish. Okay, I'm about to have an accident here. Okay. Check out that fish. Look at the coloration on that caudal fin. That's kind of the salmon coloration there that is just textbook for the Bartrams. When you see one online or in a book, that's just typical coloration there. And the anal fin and the soft dorsal, there's a little bit right there. I'm gonna put this fish on a board here. Let me get up. Hang on a second. We'll be right back. Okay, we've got the fish on a board now, and you can see the coloration a little better maybe. Certainly on the caudal fin, you can see the colors a lot better with that white background. But that's looks like a Bartrams bass, but again, with so many non-native Alabama bass, you just don't know without genetics. All right, we'll release this guy. Amazing fish. The little ones stay hooked. It's the right kind.
The Bartram?
Yeah, or it superficially looks like one.
My last one was
Now that fish is definitely a hybrid. You can see he's got some coloration there on his caudal fin. You can just barely make it out, but he, you know, superficially looks like a Alabama bass. But that's definitely a hybrid. You don't need genetics on that one when he has a trait that's unique to Bartrams bass. You see the tips of the caudal fin there, the margins, especially that bottom one, you can really see the coloration there.